Welcome, everybody. It's a Wednesday afternoon, the day before Thanksgiving, and Tammy and I wanted to join you today. We're going to give it a couple of minutes to get some people rolling through. Send us some comments as they get rolling through. I know there were a few even ahead of time. We tried something new, and I want to get some feedback on that while we're getting people to join here. And that is, we scheduled the StreamYard, which means whether you follow and are watching on Tammy's Facebook, my Facebook, or our YouTube channel, you should get, if you are set up for notifications, a notification when we're going to go live, and you can click and have a reminder sent to your phone. So this, again, is just a way for us to communicate when we're going to be doing this if you want to watch us live. So we're up to almost 100 people. I'm going to give it 30 more seconds. Tammy, say hello.
Hi, guys. It's great to see everybody again. It was so great to see some of you on Friday. I've been chatting with many of you. Since then, my phone and email has been blowing up. So it's been great talking with all of you and seeing some of you face to face. And Ron and I really wanted to jump on and just kind of give you a positive, encouraging, day before Thanksgiving message, and to give you some updates of what's going on in our state.
So we've got a multiple pronged approach. We're going to stay less than 30 minutes, promise. We're going to spend about 5 minutes on about 4 or 5 different topics and areas. We're going to start with those of you that experienced it. I want to have Tammy give you a review, a preview of all that happened at the 48-hour planned event for the rally to support restaurants in Michigan at Jimmy Roadhouse, and what happened with Tammy and Farrell over the weekend in regards to that. Tammy, why don't you give us a good rundown?
It was amazing. I mean, we threw this together so quickly because it really was an emergency situation, right? And we had restaurants reaching out to us, and of course, Jimmy not knowing what to do with the 50th anniversary. So for those of you who were not there, let me just recap what happened. And you can go and watch. I think the event has been posted now on our YouTube and our locals, and you should be able to watch the whole event. If you have not seen it, take the time to watch it. It is so powerful and inspiring. But I think there was probably 1,000, 1,200 people there total that came to support Jimmy and his restaurant, and a lot of other restaurant owners drove from across the state, and restaurant workers drove from across the state, and just patriots who are supporting our small businesses and our restaurants. So that was powerful. The event itself was just awesome. I think it was probably the most fun that I personally have had in an event. Of course, having a glass of wine at an event is fun, but it wasn't just that. It was just, there was just something about this kind of passion and people realizing that it's not just about saying we support you anymore. It's about being there and actually showing up and actually doing it, refusing to shut down, because we are going into another shutdown, just like we went through last spring. And Standup Michigan started as a result of that. This time we're here. And now we're going into it again. And so it's a completely different feel. And I think it's been powerfully motivating for me and encouraging to see that people are reacting. So the next day, it's my birthday today. So thank you, by the way, everybody, for all the birthday messages. I really appreciate it. I can't respond to everyone, but
Oh, we lost your volume.
A call that came in. Sorry.
There we go.
Am I back?
Yep, you're back.
Okay. So, what happened is we spent the weekend there, and typically we go out of town, downtown Grand Rapids, Chicago, something for my birthday weekend, because it always falls on Thanksgiving or the day before usually. And so we decided, because all the restaurants were closed, we were going to stage a protest, and we stayed in Newaygo at the most charming new Muskegon River Inn. We absolutely loved it. And we ended up going back to Jimmy's because there really isn't a whole lot open. And so we went back to Jimmy's the next day, and I got to tell you, the place was on fire. It was packed. It was just as packed as it was the night before at our protest. And I wasn't there 5 minutes, and Jimmy was introducing me to this business owner, this tavern owner who drove over from Muskegon looking for a source of encouragement and some hope, just wanting to be with other business owners. And she told me, she made, she did not mince words. She said, either I'm going to permanently go out of business and go bankrupt, or I am going to go down fighting. And so Farrell and I invited her and her husband to sit in our booth with us. And by the time we were all done eating lunch, she was in tears, and she had a steely resolve. I am opening my tavern, and I will not shut down. I refuse. And this is exactly what I needed. 5 minutes later, Jimmy's introducing me to someone who represents a consultant who represents 200 restaurants in the state of Michigan, who many of them are refusing to shut down. So we're getting in touch. And of course, there's breweries and coffee shops all over the place that are now we're connecting with and trying to approach this like we're doing with the Bowling Association from a collaborative, collective, unified approach in court. So that's what we're in the process of right now, getting the attorneys and the approach and all of that. And then, of course, we ran over to, for breakfast, we ran over to Coral, because you remember the little diner, the Gridiron Cafe.
Mhm.
So we ran over to Coral and spoke with them there, and they were so excited to see us. It was so cool because he just wanted Farrell's hat. He just wanted that cool Standup Michigan hat. So they ended up swapping hats. So Farrell has a cool Gridiron Cafe hat, and he now is probably wearing his Standup Michigan hat as he is refusing to shut down. So he's a 7 to 3 breakfast and lunch. And then I heard from many friends over the weekend who went and supported the Lakeshore Inn, I believe it's called, in Sand Lake. And she is open for business as well. And lots of patriots visiting there. So we've really started something here that has energized people and given them a lot of resolve that, hey, either I'm going to go bankrupt or I'm going to go down fighting, one or the other, right? What have I got to lose at this point? So lots of good news on that front.
It is. And again, not only is the whole event is there, the reason to watch the event is that we had probably, I don't even know, 10 or 12 maybe speakers that were there. A lot of them that either were restaurant owners, and or we had a couple of letters that were written from restaurant owners who couldn't be there, but they told their story, like Wood Chips Barbecue. I know some of you might have seen his video. Also a restaurant from the UP. And those are heart-wrenching stories, but they tell what the real background is on restaurants and their owners and their staffs, and why these people feel the need to stay open. They have done so much for our communities, and we're fighting for them. The great news with the Restaurant Association is they finally are fighting back as a unified group. They did file for injunctive relief, meaning they wanted to have a stay, let them be open while it was heard. That was turned down by the first judge. It has gone to a hearing on November 30th. And so they will hopefully get maybe some relief, but either way, that lawsuit is going forward. In the meantime, on Thursday last week, the day before this, I was asked to join a conference call with all of the owners of bowling centers from around Michigan, also some roller skating rinks and some entertainment venues. There is an association that represents all of those, and they put together the call. And I think at that time we had 40 or 50 owners of bowling centers around the state that joined the call. They literally wanted to get together face to face to get commitments from everyone. So I spent Monday, day before yesterday, in Lansing at Royal Scott Lanes and Banquet Center. And we had over 60 owners of bowling centers, entertainment centers, as well as, again, some roller skating rinks that were present. Both bowling associations were also there and represented, their directors, I should say. And I was able to get Attorney David Coleman, who represented Carl the Barber, and is in the Supreme Court with the case for Wayne County, obviously kind of the #1 person who has fought a lot of these orders. He joined us and spent a good hour and a half there with the Bowlers Association and the owners. And by the time we left, again, there is strength in numbers. There ended up being dozens of them who brought their checkbooks, wrote checks for a defense fund. And I don't know the exact number right now, but I can tell you they raised a substantial amount of money up front to defend any one of them. Some of them are joining in staying open and could not necessarily maybe afford to participate. The others are supporting them in that case. And Carl or David Coleman has agreed to take on that case, which means that they're going to be going forward. Understand what we've got then is groups of people in Lapeer. You'll see on our locals a group of 8 restaurants that remained open collectively, and they're fighting together. We recommend you do that in each of your own communities, is have them join together and join forces in saying we cannot be singled out. We're as essential as anyone else is. And you cannot show us any science or data that tells us that bowling centers or roller skating rinks spread the virus any more than a grocery store or other things or factories that are allowed to stay open. And it's nothing against those other items. It's saying they should not be singled out. They should also be able to run and operate safely. So I want you to know that, again, we're running on a bunch of parallel areas. We're trying to help as many groups of people that will join together as well as individuals. We're getting hundreds of emails a day. We can't answer every one of them individually. We're trying to then get on here and answer some of your questions and some of the emails we get. And later on in the call, before we're done, we're going to answer a handful of those questions collectively because there are so many that are the same. But I want you to know that we are standing up in a different way than we were standing up in April and May. I think in April, we weren't sure whether the virus was going to kill 10% of our population or not. Now we know that's not true. This pause, as our media tells us, I hope and I'm sure that all of you watching understand this is not a pause. This is not 3 weeks long. In 10 days, this is not going to end. These lockdowns are going to continue. They're going to be locked in. I cannot tell you for how long, but I expect a press conference, mark it down. She's going to stand up there with her mask on, and she's going to say, you people are doing a wonderful job shutting your businesses and doing exactly what you're told. Put your masks on. But it's just going to take us a little longer. We're going to need to extend it till here. And that's going to be no different than it was on May 13th and May 26th and June 13th and whatever the number and date might be. We will lose thousands of businesses if indeed that is allowed to take place. And so we're trying to get more and more of us to say, these are illegal. You cannot decide and move these things forward. So those are updates on two of the giant areas that we're working on. And I know that we've got updates on legislative issues. So I'm going to have Tammy take over. And we've had so many messages about the legislature, about things we've seen them say, about Tommy Brand, which is a good person that Tammy knows well. So Tammy, why don't you fill in on both your information in regards to that to answer everybody of where we stand and what we know.
Yeah, so we did want to come here live because we cannot answer all of these questions individually. There's just no way Ron and I can keep up with that. And everybody's got the same questions and the same frustrations. Why in the world would Tommy Brand, a Republican, introduce legislation that would require us to wear face masks all the time, a face mask mandate? And what is going on with Lee Chatfield? And I mean, everybody's asking these questions. And so last night I was pretty fired up, and I called Ron before I sent off a message that I would regret. And I'm glad I did, because I don't want to make enemies out of people. Ron and I are trying very, very hard to work collaboratively with the legislature. We have offered our platform, but they seem to be shooting themselves in the foot at every turn. And it puts us in a difficult place because we're having to apologize for them or try to explain what they're doing, which doesn't make any sense. And of course, if you notice, MLive certainly is covering what Chatfield said about putting the kibosh on the impeachment. And the media certainly is covering that a Republican representative wants to have face mask mandates. Oh, they're giving them plenty of coverage with those stories, right? But we at the same time are trying to further the message of freedom while they're working against us, it seems. And so I know you guys are frustrated. I know you're angry. And let me tell you, I had a conversation with Tommy Brand, I would say maybe 4 weeks ago, about face masks. And I just explained to him, because he was in favor of face masks. And I just said to him, you do realize I'm a PPE expert and a respiratory protection expert. I'm a court-appointed subject matter expert. And all he could focus on was, yeah, but my friend who's a doctor says, yeah, but you're not a doctor. And I probably was on the phone with him for a half an hour, and I explained to him, I don't care what your doctor says. It is malpractice for him to get out of his lane and his area of expertise and speak on something which he knows nothing about. That doctor wears the PPE that he wears because people like me come in and test his environment, and we figure out what kind of pathogen or hazardous atmosphere they're exposed to. And then we take the PPE that has been rated to protect against that pathogen, and we train them on how to use it. We give them a medical evaluation and a fit test and all of that. I explained this to him in great detail. And his answer to me was, well, that certainly is a different point of view. And he left it at that. And so when I saw this come out, you guys, I was just as frustrated as you. And believe me, I wanted to roast him, because I have talked with him personally. You realize I have offered to come in with Kristen Megan for free and educate the legislature. Has any of them taken us, the experts, the court-appointed government experts? Has anybody taken us up on that offer? No. So they continue to push for these things and mandates that even take away your freedoms more. Well, we're trying to work with them collaboratively. So I told Ron my frustration here is that I don't want to come on and just complain. I don't want to just be negative, and I don't want to make enemies. But at the same time, they're putting us in a position where, how do we even talk about this without sounding negative and critical? Because that is just wrong. And you all know it, and we're hearing it. And we wanted to address it because we recognize it as well. And I'm not going to go on a tirade on Facebook or on locals or anything like that, because you know what? Ultimately, that doesn't do any good. All it does is create a wedge and animosity for any future work collaboration that we could possibly do together. It makes enemies, and it doesn't resolve the problem. So Ron and I both come from a business background and leadership and management positions. And in those positions, you always look at the situation at hand and you say, I need to get this problem solved. What is the best way to do that? I might want to go on a tirade and roast somebody. I might feel like doing that, but is that going to solve the problem? No. It's going to make me feel better, but that's not really going to solve the problem. So we are trying to approach this, that how do we get the legislature to see that 72 out of 83 counties in Michigan sent them a very clear message. We don't want any more restrictions in our freedom. We don't want to lose any more of our freedoms. Get out of the way and stop messing in our lives. Stop putting mandates on us. Stop telling us what we can do and how many people we can have in our homes, et cetera, et cetera. We're sending them that message. They know. And yet at the same time, they're doing things that are not responsive to what the people are saying and have said. So all we can do is continue to talk about it, bring the situations and the issues up, have the discussion, and continue to hold their feet to the fire. But how do we really resolve this problem? It is by your vote. We need to vote these people out. That's all there is to it. I don't know why Tommy Brand is a Republican if he's going to be voting for the loss of freedoms. Honestly, he might as well just jump ship and become a Democrat. Either that or he needs to go. And that's how we get the problem solved. So Ron and I are trying to communicate with them, but there are things, they are doing things. And Ron said it very well the other day when he said, you know, they're their own men. They do things and say things differently than I would, right? We're not all clones. So all we can do is address the issues, keep holding their feet to the fire, and ultimately vote them out. And Ron, you need to, I would say this is a perfect segue for you to introduce what we're planning and strategizing to do to build up the conservative leadership within the legislature moving forward.
Well, it's multiple pronged approaches. I guess what I'd like to maybe discuss with everybody first for a few minutes is, we discussed with all of you how much Standup Michigan is, how much attention we have with people in the legislature. We do have connections with all of that in both leadership and on down the line of people who connect with us regularly. Understand, a lot of these people are business people. A lot of them weren't business people. They certainly don't have anything to do with PPEs. I don't know of any of them much that are doctors or understand most of that background. In the same way, they're not great at being a legislator or understanding politics either. So we're believing that, imagine this, but we actually have to educate them. Mm-hmm. We have to have them. We have enough clout to be able to talk with them about a number of things. Number one, what their people that supported them and voted them into place expect of them. They lose touch of that because if they read the newspaper, the media, MLive, you would think again that the governor had this huge popularity and that we're in the minority, when in actuality there is a huge mandate that was issued, as Tammy just mentioned. 72 counties, a county like Newaygo County voted 70% for Donald Trump. It wasn't just for the man who had an R in front of his name. It was for individual rights and freedoms versus lockdowns. That's what the county voted for. 7 out of 10 people here. Believe me, that's a gigantic number for a county like this that was becoming closer to a 50-50 number. We know then going forward what we have to do first, and we keep talking to you all about it, is we've got to have you spread the word and have more people join our email list. I'm going to make sure that I mention on here now, again, standupmichigan.com. The first thing that will pop up is join us. When they give us their email address, we will be able to connect with everyone through there, and our calls to action will come from there. But one other thing is going to come from there. A great a friend, actually, a business manager of mine, and her husband, a superintendent of schools, who retired and live in Middle Michigan, they've been following us since Brighton. And they literally were like, this is craziness what's going on, but we've got to tell people how they can find Stand-Up Michigan. So believe it or not, they actually printed up a "you need to watch this" and typed out the link to our YouTube channel and clipped them out and handed them out to everybody they run into that has a Trump hat, people they know that are like-minded, and literally have had people joining, hand-to-hand with face-to-face information, not unlike you did with the Unlock Michigan campaign, right? Except you don't have to ask for the driver's license. You don't have to have them fill out an information and sign in their name and address. You just need to hand them a piece of paper and say, please join us here so that we can share the information. So what we're creating is a business card, like a little larger than business card PDF that will be like 10 to a page. You're going to be able to get that at standupmichigan.com. We're going to include it in an email, a PDF, where you can print it off and cut them out. And then we want them to hand them out at church, hand them out at work, hand them out at the coffee shop. We were just thinking this weekend, we could have handed out hundreds this weekend if we would have had them. And everyone would have put in their email. They can do it while they're sitting at the table. In a matter of 5 minutes, there'll be 3 things on there. Join our email list, join our locals for 12 months for free, and join our YouTube and subscribe so that they get information on our lives for now. That's it. All of those can be done in 5 minutes. And we wanted to grow this number because if we can get back to a 250, 300,000 member email list, we have even more power of the people with not only the legislature, but we'll have that power. And again, social media is not going to do the work. We're being censored. And I want to give you some examples. I'm going to segue right now into something that's very interesting. We talk about being seen nationally, right? We've discussed that with you. And people say, what does that mean? Media, they don't want Michigan and how it's going. No, we are part of a frontliners group, which is a group of grassroots leaders from around the country. It was established by some of the people that run the Eagle Forum, Freedom Works, the Heritage Foundation, Act for America, these type of organizations that are not based on a political party, but are based on freedom-oriented grassroots efforts from within all of these states. We started this about 8 weeks before the election. It's 1 hour a week, and every person, we have special guests on. So this week, I was actually the officiator of the national call. We had 58 people representing 26 states on the call. We do this so that we don't duplicate a bunch of efforts, but more importantly, we can get national information. And I'm going to start out every week now of giving you some information on what we're going to call the Frontliners National Weekly Update. And the reason is that this includes stuff we just don't get in the media. The question that we hear is, what is Rudy doing? Why is Sydney doing that? What is the campaign saying? We have connections all the way through to the campaign. We have connections in Washington. We have connections with the legal team, and we have connections with many of the state leaders, not unlike Patrick Kolbeck and some people here in Michigan. So at this particular call, we were able to connect with Matt Schlapp. Matt is, as you probably know, is ahead of CPAC. He was involved in the Bush campaign. He's working on the transition and the Trump campaign right now. He gave an update on talking about the corruption that existed. The fraud is real. He talked about Nevada specifically, saying it is beyond the level of corruption that anyone has ever seen before. It makes 2000 look like a complete walk in the park. That was about Chads, not about broad-based fraud. We know we have these affidavits. They have 250 affidavits from people from the state of Nevada with, again, chain of command issues with ballots and so on. He talked about Georgia. We had an update from Georgia and Pennsylvania on the call. And I want to let you know we're all connecting with each other. This isn't over. The battle is continuing. And in some cases, understand the certification in states had to take place prior to courts being able to react because they hadn't yet been harmed. Believe it or not, they had to be certified in some cases. If you had an extension, you could look into it further. But if they're certified, now you can bring criminal charges because these people have put their efforts out there to certify an election that included fraud. And now you can bring those up in different areas. This was represented and talked about in this particular frontline situation. So we're going to give you updates on this. There are lots of things going on. So many things, shutdowns at a state level and national level. We've got an election and who's going to control things. By the way, we had an update on the Georgia runoff. They are going to be needing volunteers to help make phone calls and texting campaigns that we're putting together. I will do a call to action probably in another week or so. They do allow early voting, not mail-in necessarily, but early voting for this runoff campaign for the Senate seats that will control almost every aspect of your life going forward if we don't hold the Senate. So this was a very important update, and we're going to need some of you to be offering to help with these calls. So that's an update from there. And again, we wanted to pivot from that encouraging and information that we gave you on the legislature, not so much, right, to some encouraging information, both going forward with Thanksgiving and where we see things shaping up here in this next week or 10 days. So Tammy, why don't you talk a little bit about, the hope and what good things are happening here.
Yeah, and I know that there's a lot of craziness, and there are a lot of things going on a lot of different levels all at the same time, that it gets very overwhelming. I told somebody the other day, it's almost like sometimes, I'm dealing with the emails and the calls and just working through things. My brain hurts. I told somebody, I don't have a headache, but my brain just kind of hurts and it can get really overwhelming. So Ron and I wanted to just give you an update, but we also wanted to encourage you that there is a lot of good going on in this state right now. Ron and I will be next week meeting with two leaders who are very, very involved within the legislature, in the political arena, with other grassroots organizations. And it is our hope and our goal to bring unity like we've never seen before in this state, and to build an army of citizen patriots who are united in their efforts, not fractured, not this one over here doing this and this one here. That's kind of, I think, where the Democrats really beat us at every turn. They have their own, factions as well, but they are very united when it comes to accomplishing their goals from the big picture. And that's where Ron and I have identified, and I think a lot of other leaders within other grassroots groups, they say the same thing. We all know that it's a problem, but now that we've identified the problem, we are really working to sit down and unite this state and our people to move forward to accomplish big things together. And so that is what we're in the middle of right now, doing with our own state, with our own groups within our own state. And then we're also working at the same time with those, like Ron just explained to you, on the national level. We have been recognized by those on the national stage as a leader in Michigan, as the leader in Michigan. They came to us and told us that you are the most effective group. We want you to be in these calls. We want to be working with you to affect change on a national level, not just here in Michigan, but on a national level. So there is a lot of exciting things going on as we look to grow and bring unity and build bridges and bring peace. I've prayed through this whole thing since I took this position that the Lord would use me, that it was not about Tammy. I don't really want people to see Tammy, but I want people to see what kind of power there is in strength and unity. And I've asked the Lord to use me to be a peacemaker, to build bridges, not destroy bridges and not destroy relationships. And that's why I told you, even though I, was really mad and I kind of wanted to roast someone last night, I told Ron, I said, I had a message typed up and then I just deleted it. And I thought, nope, that's not the answer. That is not the way we move forward. And I may have been justified in doing that. But that's really, when you think about it from a big picture, that's not how we bring change. That's not how we unite. And so there are so many good things going on that we wanted to just tell you and encourage you that don't let the enemy get you distracted and get you weighed down with this heaviness of this oppression. Yes, there are some pretty wicked agendas going on all around us. We're seeing it. But there's also hope, because when the people stand together, arm in arm, like we said Friday night from the stage, arm in arm, shoulder to shoulder, in solidarity, there's really not much they can do about it. And that's really what we're building here, is an army of united patriots. And boy, is that powerful. And that's what we're doing. So it is working. Our voices are being heard, and that is threatening to them. We would not be so attacked if we were not a threat. So keep it up, stand strong, and encourage those around you. I love what's going on in Lapeer, for example. All these restaurants have recognized what Wood Chips Barbecue did. And all of a sudden, all these other little restaurants said, me too. I want to be part of that too. I'm going to stand too. And there's so much strength in unity that we need to do this in every one of our communities. So all of you all over the state who are watching, please stand with your restaurants. Encourage them. Just stand. What have you got to lose at this point? There's nothing to fear but fear itself. So go for it. Stand strong, because every one of us were born and put on this planet for such a time as this. You have a role to play in what's going on right now in your state. Don't think that it was any accident that you were born today. And the Lord may be asking you to stand strong. You were born for today. So you may have a very important role to play in all of this. And I know it's scary. Trust me, nobody knows like Ron and I how uncomfortable it is, how discouraging it can be, and how scary it can be. We know better than anyone. but we've been out there leading by example. So you should have the courage now and the strength to do it yourself. And we really, really hope that as we go into Thanksgiving, that you just disconnect for a couple of days. Turn off the TV, turn off the news, get together with your family and your friends, and just enjoy it. You know, it brings strength and it recharges our batteries like nothing when you just get together with family, watch football, play cards, whatever. And we really, really want to encourage you all to do that, despite the governor telling you you can't, right? It's important that you do that. And so we wanted to just send you a message of encouragement and hope and positivity and hopefully strength, because we draw strength from each other to build you up. And I know Ron has a Thanksgiving message of encouragement for you as well.
Well, the first thing I'd say is that some of these that have stood up, Jimmy's Roadhouse was his liquor license was supposedly suspended today. They came and put signs on his door. The bowling center in Fremont, both in the same county and had same health department, were issued cease and desist orders yesterday and had their liquor license temporarily suspended. They both have hearings in court already. The state police came with them, no warning. They literally came in and issued those. They are real about enforcement of these. They are picking and choosing who they're going to attack. We've seen that happen in restaurants in the UP. I just read one earlier from today, and they're saying, what should they do? Everybody has to make their own decision. I do recommend legal counsel. We're not attorneys, nor are we going to represent them. But we do believe these are illegal. We can say that. We believe, just like we told you in May, that the decisions she was making in the executive orders were not legal. So we recommend that, they take the signs off and they continue forward, but they need to have legal counsel. They need to go in and fight the good fight by saying, we are practicing the social distancing. We're practicing everything we did before we were ordered to lock down. We aren't doing anything differently, and we don't believe we should be treated any differently than other businesses around our community. Across the street, you can get your hair cut and your nails done, and next door you can work at the business or whatever it might be, but you can't come in here other than come in and get your food, but you can't sit down and eat it. We really believe that there are real problems with that. In the same way with these bowling centers, who literally are a great out for people. They tend to stick with their own groups on a pair of lanes, and they go every other lane. They literally have done this to create and follow everything that needs to be done. We ask you to support those businesses that are staying open over this weekend. A lot of them are fixing and are deciding to fix Thanksgiving meals for those that can't afford any. They are donating food all over this country, especially with the takeout situations. I know our local one here is creating tons of Thanksgiving meals for whatever donation that they can get and be provided. And if they can't afford it, they'll provide it to you for free. That is what restaurants are all about. And so that's the true meaning of Thanksgiving. And we're seeing that happen all throughout the state of Michigan. We're only as effective as you as grassroots are. The reason that we're being looked at around the country isn't because of Tammy or me or Standup Michigan or its brand. It's because of what 60,000 citizens did in signing up to circulate the Unlock petition. And they realized that we had the ability to actually activate tens of thousands of people to instill change, 500,000 signatures plus in 80 days. We need to have the same thing, only they're not going to sign up. They're actually going to, they'll be signing up. They'll be signing up to get an email. They'll be signing up to join our locals for free, and they'll be signing up to get our YouTube information so that when we have calls to action, to have you show up, whether it is in Lansing, whether it is to support a countywide business, or more importantly, what Tammy mentioned earlier, to identify each of these groups by county. We're going to create a cell type concept, leaders within counties that are going to begin to meet to where you can begin to grow a Stand-Up Michigan community within your county, that we can identify people who should run for office, school boards, county commissions, and yes, it's going to be House members or senators, so that we can literally grow this into a gigantic movement of we the people. And we're going to have an advisory board that's going to be put together. This includes people from different organizations and grassroots groups throughout the state. And there are going to be some national people who are willing to donate their time and their energy and their resources in order for us to be able to accomplish some very important things. We've got a lot of news coming soon, but what we really want is you're going to see on our email list and on our standupmichigan.com site a link to a PDF for you to print these off And during this holiday weekend, starting on Friday, we want you to print these on your own printer, cut them up, and start handing them to people so they can sign up. And that way we can grow this number so that when we need to be effective in a large group of people, we can do that with a collective voice. And as you know and remember, when we were 300,000 strong, it literally gave us power together. And the legislatures recognize that power. They react to that power. And indeed, they know we exist, and we know how you all feel. Right now, we're able to demonstrate that people are standing up for our individual rights and freedoms. And this Thanksgiving, we want you to celebrate and be thankful. Guess what? That we live in the greatest country on earth. We are so blessed to not only be able to celebrate a Thanksgiving for what we were founded upon, but we look at the founding principles that came from biblical principles. Our forefathers did such a gift for us, and our churches have got to stand up. We pray that the churches would open this holiday weekend for a Thanksgiving service, for us to be thankful and be in prayer for us as we're standing up together to defend those rights. The rest of the world has no idea what they're dealing with. We really believe that the spirit that's within us, the American spirit, is strong and alive and well. And together we are going to rise up, and the legislatures around this country are going to react, because if they don't, we're going to shove them aside. They have no ability to do things beyond what the people give them the right to do. And Tammy and I are here to be just, again, to speak the truth to you, to share the information, the knowledge, and the hope that exists. And I just hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving together. I want you to, again, celebrate with each other and spread the word about what we're doing. We're not about a political party. We're about we the people.
That's right. And as we wrap it up, guys, I just want to remind you, like Ron said, the spirit, the American spirit is a godly spirit. It's a spirit of freedom. Where the spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. And this is why we say we're not about a party. We're about freedom. And it's a thankful spirit, right? And so it's important that as we get together with our family and our friends, we push the negativity out, and we remember to be thankful for what the Lord has given us and for what he is doing through all of us, through each one of you partnering with Stand Up Michigan. And we look forward to what 2021 is going to bring, working with each one of you.
And I'm sure we'll have an update from one or both of us, maybe separate, maybe together over the weekend as information changes. We'll probably give you a reminder when indeed this is posted for you to begin to pass and hand this information out. In the meantime, you know where the addresses are anyway. It's standupmichigan.com. It's Stand Up Michigan on YouTube. But this sheet will be nice because it'll give you something to pull out of your pocket and hand to somebody and say, please watch this video. Please look at this and join this movement so that we together can instill change and we can provide hope to those that maybe don't even know we exist yet. So have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Give every one of your family members a hug and celebrate. And by the way, visit those neighbors that are shut in. Give them hope too. Share the good news, and we'll be praying for each other. Just have a wonderful Thanksgiving. We'll talk to you soon.
Goodbye, everyone.